Hi, and welcome to my channel. I'm Kelly Levine, the Closet Coach. I help professional home organizers, designers, and I'm adding cabinet shop makers. Um, I teach them how to design custom closets, grow their business, and make more money. And I also help DIYers. So a couple things about this channel if it's your first time here. If it's your first time here, I suggest going back and checking out the Start Here videos. You can feel free to watch this one, but if there's things that confuse you about how I'm drawing things and how I'm talking about things, those 4 Start Here videos are going to help you get on board with the way this kind of works. Okay. The second thing is recently I got an email from someone, and it was, several paragraphs and a layout of her room with some questions about what I would recommend. And I just want to say, full transparency, I'm not able to spend hours on, questions like that. So I'm doing these videos, putting out the content so you guys can get some great ideas. If you need a project done for you though, you are going to need to hit the button and hire me. Otherwise, submit your questions, and just like I'm doing today, I'll be happy to do a video to give you some more insight and things like that. But individual, questions about projects that are, not just a quick answer. I'm not going to take the time to go through those, or I will never be able to, get anything else done. So that being said, today I want to talk about laundry rooms combined with closets. I do see that quite a bit. I've designed several, and so I've got a few examples today. But the main purpose for this video is to talk about the things that you need to consider when you're thinking about putting your laundry in with your closet, or if that's just the way it's set up and you're trying to figure out the best way to get the most out of that space. All right, so let's go to the share screen here. All right, so I have just a few notes here. So the first thing that you want to consider is the size of the washer and dryer. Most people, I think, really underestimate what the size is and really how much room things take up. So, a typical depth I've got written up here is 36 inches. You can see from these schematics that I've grabbed down here that washers and dryers really aren't 36 inches deep, but I can almost guarantee you that by the time you get all those hoses back there and all of the other things, it is generally, from the wall to the front of the machine, it's pretty close usually to 36 inches. And so if you're in the design phase, especially, just use that dimension, as a ballpark, because it's not, these front loaders are 32 inches. It's not going to be 32 inches from the wall, because you've got all those hoses and all that other stuff that pushes those out a little ways from the wall. And then I don't know if this schematic that I grabbed is, a smaller machine, but this 25 inches, there's no way that it's not going to be 25 inches from the wall. Okay, so keep that in mind when it comes to depth. And then for width, it's pretty easy. Almost every washing machine that I've ever worked with or measured has been 27 inches wide. And you can see here, these 3 schematics that I pulled out, these are all 27 inches wide. Maybe I can use this. So here you go there you go there, and there you go there. Those are all 27 inches wide. That's really, the standard for a washer and dryer. So that being said, and we'll go into this in a little bit more depth, but you need to really figure about 60 inches. Now, I ran into some schematics that had a washer and dryer sitting next to each other, and they said 54 inches. It is almost impossible to get a washer and dryer next to each other and touching where you'd actually have that 54 inches. But, just think about this for a minute. If you've got a washer and dryer, you know how heavy those things are. Usually you've got to kind of scooch them out a little bit to get them out of place. You need a few inches of extra space. So, you know, you're going to need to figure 60 inches. And then the height varies, and that depends on the style. I've got a top loader here, a front loader here, and then of course these front loader stackables is going to be much higher. But the reason that the height is important is because if you're designing cabinets above, you want to make sure that you've either, number one, got room to open your cabinets when your top is open, or that you've got enough space to fold clothes if you want to do that. You know, lots of reasons why you want to take into consideration the height of your machines. And then the other thing that we're going to talk about more in depth is what it takes to be able to open the door and stand there. So a lot of people are doing front loaders nowadays. So this is, you know, this is the one where that becomes probably a little bit, you know, more important. But even with a top loader, usually the dryer is a front loader. And so you've got to think about, you can see here, they're saying this is almost 53 inches from the back of the machine to the front of the door when that's open. But remember, that doesn't include your body. So unless you want to have to try to, you know, like move around, you really want to take these dimensions into consideration. And this is what I want to talk about in this video. So I've got, you know, a design that I did. And, you know, this was a pretty nice big closet. The door was over here. But it was a combination of laundry and a closet. And this was what I was taking a look at here. So I've got, you know, the machines coming out from the wall. And then she wanted an island. So I had an island in here. And this was my critical dimension here. So you can see that I had 38.5 inches. There was a little bit more room here, but not a whole lot. It's pretty similar to that 38.5, I believe. So I was, you know, I was thinking that was kind of tight or could potentially be tight. Here's what I did to make sure that it wasn't too tight. I made sure that the section that I put right here, you know, she's going to be standing in here, that this was just a shelf section. So she's not going to be having clothes hanging out here and hitting these clothes every time. So I think that, you know, would help a lot. But I would say, you know, as a minimum, I would try to get 36 inches between the machines and any other kind of barrier. Like I said, that schematic here said 52 3/4 to the edge of the door. So that's 60 inches that I'm suggesting, or I'm sorry, that 72 inches that I'm suggesting leaves about 20 inches for you to like be able to move around. If you've got a laundry room now, go ahead and you're curious about this, just go ahead and measure. How far is it from the front of the machine to whatever barrier is behind you? And my guess is it's typically going to be somewhere around 36 inches, maybe more, would make it nice and roomy. But that is something that you really have to consider when you're doing a laundry room. All right. And then, you know, in this case, one of the other things I wanted to point out was they had a basin built in. So some of the measurements that I'm going to tell you, like I just told you to use 60 inches, but I needed to use 66 inches here to the next section because that floor was not going to be the same as this floor. This is carpet over here, and this is a different type of floor. So you wouldn't want to have another section coming down and sitting in here. You want to keep the rest of your closet outside of that basin. So that's another thing to keep in mind if you've got something like this or a different kind of floor underneath your machines. All right, so you can see in these, you know, these are 3Ds. These are obviously not actual pictures, but you can see the cabinets above. going, 66 inches over instead of just the normal 60, which I'm going to show you in a second. And then going to, some other things that they wanted. In this case, and you can see here, how the washing machine is sticking out. And so this is that space where your body is going to get. Do not think that you're going to, put something right here. That is not going to work. So really keep that in mind when you're designing a laundry room inside of a closet. Now, you could put some hooks or something here. That might be nice, but all right. So the other thing to consider is the height above the machines. And I've got some pictures here. This one, I just wanted to show you that if you're going to have clothes hanging above a counter, I think it's much nicer to keep that rod up high. I've seen some where the rod is here. If you do that, you're going to have clothes hanging all over the countertop. So make sure that you have, at least 39 inches probably there to get the clothes hanging and not touching if you're doing that over a countertop. This one was a really, really simple design, and not over a washer and dryer, but the washer and dryer is on the other side. But I did some measuring to make sure that these were the size for laundry baskets. And then the upper, and this is spaced obviously for the laundry soaps and things like that to be able to fit. So this is a very, very simple design there. Here's a more typical laundry room, because I want to talk about these cabinets above and what that might look like. And then here's a stackable with a closet. And again, this was a big closet. Love it or hate it, this was a kind of a modern type of a laundry room / closet with this is movable. So she could move that out and use it kind of like a folding island if she wanted to, and then have space here to hang clothes to dry and things like that. Okay, so there's all kinds of fun things that you can do. This particular one was a remodel. So all of the plumbing and everything was right where it needed to be from her contractor. And, I didn't try to move those around. That's just actually where they were. Moving plumbing around is extremely expensive. So if you've got plumbing already set up in your room and you're, trying to be on a budget or work with what you've got as far as the plumbing goes, that would be my suggestion, unless you really want to have a major project and move plumbing around. But make sure that you know what you're doing with your design before you pay somebody to come over and, move plumbing and stuff around. Because what I see people thinking, because I've been on many appointments where people were thinking about doing that, what I see people thinking is that if they move these machines, they'll have more room. And that's not always the case, because again, they forget to account for the door being open and their body needing space. So I think that's about all I want to say about that. But just keep those things in mind when you're thinking about laundry and moving things around. All right, so just one basic thing that I want to talk about in a laundry room. Let's just, say that you've got the smallest laundry room ever, and I have seen these, and it's 60 inches. Let's say it's 60 inches across. And, it's 72 inches deep. All right, and then you've got a door. All right, so your machines are going to be, actually, it's going to have to be deep. Doesn't matter. We're really only concerned about the what the cabinets above are going to be. I want to at least show you guys that part, what they normally end up to be and what to consider. So you've got your machines in here, and I'm going to just, oops. So here's your machines. And I drew it 36 inches deep, so I'm just going to put it to the wall. But you guys know that it would not be. And so you can see I've got a few inches of space in between there, but there are your machines. Now, if you go with a custom closet company or order some pieces online, you're potentially going to be able to get some cabinets that are 16 inches deep, maybe 14 inches deep. But if you go and you just buy some custom or some typical cabinets that are pre-made, those are almost always only going to be 12 inches deep. Okay, so this 4 inches might not seem like a big deal, but when you're trying to reach across those machines and it's up a little bit, it can really, really be nice to have those a little bit deeper. So if you can find, if you're a do-it-yourself or if you can find 14-inch deep material, I would highly suggest using that in this case. If you're going with a custom closet company and they can do 16-inch deep and have that hung above, I would go ahead and do that. So let's draw out our elevation view here. And let's go with the top loaders. And, those are right around 38, 39 inches tall. So we've got one there. Oops. Oh, never mind. I made these machines too big. There we go. Come on. There we go. Okay. There's our machines. Okay, so we've got those, right about 39 inches high, something like that. All right, so how high do you want to do your upper cabinets? If you're going with a custom closet company or if you're able to do it, I would say, go to the ceiling and do a flat trim up there. So, you'd go up here, you'd have a flat trim, and then you'd have your cabinets below. If you can't do that, if you're purchasing something or doing it yourself, you're probably going to have a 35-inch tall cabinet. If you go with something else, you can get a lot more space in there. So let's talk about this distance here though. So if you want to use the top of your machines for folding, even if you're not going to have a countertop, which I'm not a huge fan of countertops over machines, especially not in a room like this because it gets so tight. There's not enough room to support it. You may need extra space to be able to do that because you actually have to support that. You've got to support that countertop there, and there. So it's not always as easy as you think to put a countertop over if you've got a very small room. And so let's not take that into consideration because you can always fold on top of this as well. But if you're going to fold, you probably want, somewhere between, let's just say 18 inches. Where does that put us? That puts us at 57 inches. And that is generally where I started. That's generally where most people felt very comfortable. And the other thing about 57 inches for the bottom of your cabinets is that if you were to ever switch to a top loader, most of them open and you've got clearance with 57 inches. Okay, so you're not going to be smacking into that cabinet So basically what you've got is, and I'm going to draw this right way. You've got, a filler strip on both sides. And then you've got 60 inches to do your cabinets. And let's get rid of some of these lines here. So you've got a filler strip against the wall. And the reason that you want a filler strip against the wall in this kind of construction is that when you open that door, you don't want the handle to be hitting it. I've done some projects where the homeowner wanted me to do, even a 2 or 3 inch filler strip at the side. So I'm just drawing this with a 3/4 inch filler strip, but you can decide what you want, or your contractor can decide what they want for that filler strip there. There's likely going to be one. And then you've got your panel, and then you've got a center panel. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of material there. So 0.75 times 5, you're taking up 3 3/4 of an inch. Sorry. And we had 60 inches. So you've got 56 1/4 divided by 2 is 28 1/8 are the size of your. Now, if you're using a standard style, then you may have a bigger filler strip just based on the size that your cabinets come in. Okay, if you're buying something off the shelf. But if you're doing custom, you can do it this way. And then to finish that off, you can decide if you just want an open shelf, which would be like this. Or if you want, a full cabinet with doors, you'd have that. And you can do both or either, but generally you want this shelf in the middle to be adjustable here. All right, so that's your standard cabinets over a laundry room. These are the things that you really want to consider when you are laying out your space so that this area doesn't get too crowded. And then, of course, you want to have your inventory before you go ahead and design the rest of the closet in the room. So I hope that helps. I hope that gives you some pointers to think about when you're thinking about having your laundry in your closet. And I do see that quite a bit lately. And I think it's really nice if it's vented correctly and everything is done, works out really well. Thank you so much for joining me. Let's get rid of this. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you need a closet done for you, there's a link in the bio below. If you are a home organizer, a designer, a cabinet shop who really wants to dig in and learn how to not only design closets, but also how to sell them to your customers, let me know. I've got a link below for the closet design course that I offer. All right, so I hope you all have a great day, and I will see you next time. Take care.